What's up, Hoodlum fans? Back again. It was a week off. Loads of fun. It was a very interesting week for us. For me, I won't talk for Webbs. It was very interesting for me. But we're back again with the homie Webbs, figuring things out as we usually do. What say you, Webbs?
Hey, everybody. How's it going? I think I'm capable of feeling joy again. I'm excited for that.
Indeed. I mean, relief is more of my feeling at this point. Heavy relief that at least half of our country made an interesting decision. Now,
Indeed.
we're gonna go and not that we're repeating, but like revisiting ideas that need to be like harped upon. We'll say. And tonight's show. Go ahead, Webbs.
I'm going to disagree with that a little bit because I feel like in order to learn something, you have to be exposed to it multiple times. And if we could confidently say we're the exact same people every time, maybe it's repetitive. I feel like we do not have the exact same people every time. We do get some repeat folks, but it's not exactly the same.
And this won't be exactly the same situation. It's going to be more of a scenario in which, like right now, I would hope that both grown-ups, whether they be teachers or not teachers, are experimenting right now with things and approaches to deal with their students or their children. In that, not that this is a mulligan year, but this is this is a dope year to be a teacher. And the more and more I continue to go week by week, the more and more that hits me as an absolute fact. It is a dope year to be a teacher because of is there a lot of pressure? There's a lot of pressure, but is there a lot of, this is the most open world teaching has ever been, ever. I don't think it will ever go back to open world. When we go back to face-to-face learning, whatever gains we made in this remote period, we are not going to be able to make that wide of a gain in terms of technical acumen, teacher ability, new ideas proliferating. Don't see it happen again in teaching unless COVID-25 happens again.
Let's not.
Yeah, I'm just keeping 100
I will
with you.
pass on that.
I'm just keeping 100 with you.
That was an outcome of this week. I can now separate what anxiety comes from the election, what anxiety is just purely COVID anxiety. That's good.
So I mean, I really think this is an interesting year to be some of the really cool things that teachers are recognizing about themselves that they would have never got an opportunity to do had they not been remote. I think those things, even from teachers who wouldn't have called themselves tech forward people before this situation, to see some of the cool things that are coming out of that as well. You would never been forced to expand your technical abilities had we been stuck face to face. Like the evolution would have popped off.
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of like my first times in tech, and also when I was a dealer for the World Series of Poker.
I thought you said dealer like you was slinging weight or something. I was like, yeah.
Oh, no. Have you met me? Like, I've never pulled that off.
You were a dealer.
Can you even imagine? Pardon me, sir. Would you be interested in some illicit material? Anyway, it sucked to be thrown in the deep end, but I think maybe some of it depends on like what your perspective is as a person. Like you can take that and like wallow and be sad and be frustrated in the crappy situation that it was, or you can go, you know what is it, what does my mom say? Some days are nuts, some days are shells. And so like you can choose to look at only the shells, or you can choose to recognize that you had some decent nuts in there. Maybe I didn't think that through.
This is it's not a children's program, but I mean
yeah. Anyway, what I'm saying is even difficult situations can be learning situations. Find your nuts.
This is this Dave Chappelle's monologue last night all over again. Oh boy, indeed, I needed that laugh. All right. So what are we gonna get?
I'm gonna add that, by the way. I'm gonna add add that to my
that's not what I wanted.
Resume. I was once compared. My
Dave
humor
Chappelle.
was once compared to Dave Chappelle.
Yeah, that's not. See that one. Hold on. So anyway, for the Ask a Software Engineer question for the night, Webs is there is there's a penchant for us to denigrate people who have to do things over and over again. Like our school system rewards people who get things quick and move on to the next task.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It does not reward people who have to do multiple iterations of a task in order to be successful. So in your job, how much is that culture abound, or is that culture not? I mean, is it expected of you to get things done as quickly as possible? Do you have a lot of leeway in terms of how long it takes you to iterate? Like, what does that look like?
So I think my situation is kind of a unique one. I've been really fortunate in the environments and teams that I've been on that the general experience I've had is like, if I am struggling with something, I ask someone for help, somebody who knows more than I do, and that's not frowned upon. It's not, I'm not viewed as less than because I needed to ask someone for help. In fact, I remember I was on a project about a year and a half ago where one of the pieces of feedback I got early on was like, ask for help more, like sooner, earlier. So if you feel like you're stuck, like only, time box it to like an hour or two. But after that hour or two of time box, like ask someone to help you. So I feel like I've been really fortunate. I don't think that's the same experience in every team in tech. I don't think it's I would even argue it's probably not even common in tech. I think there is a tendency, like in a lot of workforces, to look down on people who take a little bit longer to get things. But I think that's also one of the problems with tech right now, especially like companies want these amazingly gifted senior folks, just like they grow on trees or something. Like people don't actually have to come in and learn new skills in order to become those senior developers. Mm-hmm. And I think that just because that is the way the culture is, doesn't necessarily mean that's the way the culture should be. So I'm going to speak about my team specifically, and even really focusing on the team that I'm on right now. The team that I'm on right now is phenomenal. Not to say that I haven't been on good teams before, but the team that I'm on right now, we really see how each person, it's like the whole Power Rangers, Thundercats type thing, Avengers, X-Men, whatever you want to call it. We each bring something unique to the team that is our strength, but we try to learn as much as possible about every aspect of our environment. And so if we get stuck on something, it's a very comfortable environment to be able to say, like, hey, I don't know how to do this thing. Can you help me out with it? And sometimes we do have to repeat things because there's a tremendous amount of information that we have to hold in our brains about, different parts of the project and where we're iterating and what things have changed, and different conversations happen at different times. So asking for someone to repeat something isn't like frowned upon at all. It's just, hey, I need you to repeat that for me because I can't remember. My teammates are great about, maybe you're just having a slow brain day or something. And I think that's the way that it should be, like, because it means that I can be more productive because I'm not as self-conscious about asking for help. I'm not as self-conscious about asking someone to repeat something for me. It makes it really lowers the stress so I can be as helpful and useful and productive and get my work done as quickly as possible, because I'm not sitting there worried like, oh my God, if I ask for help, then they're going to think that like I'm a bad software developer and that I'm incompetent or something. Don't get me wrong, I have my share of imposter syndrome, but it makes the team that I'm on and that kind of environment makes it a lot less stressful. So I don't worry about that stuff as much. Because think about it, like, if I were stressed over that, how long would I sit on a problem before asking for help? Simply because I didn't want to look like I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't want to, have the negative impact from what my teammates think. And then it would take me a really long time to get something done because I'm afraid to ask. So I forget what your original question was, but I hope that I answered it.
Yeah. So I guess, do you see that as cheating?
Oh God, no. Nobody sees it as cheating.
Why?
Why is asking for help not cheating? Is that
Yes.
what your question is? Because the ultimate goal is to get the work done. Like, it doesn't matter who's the person who gets the thing, or we just want to get the work done as quickly as possible. Yes, we want to enable people and scaffold learning and give them opportunities for productive struggle, but when that struggle is no longer productive, either to the individual person or the team, then you need an out. And the realistic way to do that is ask someone who has more experience in something than you do. Or even just ask someone who might have a different perspective than you do. Nobody views that as cheating. There is nothing in my job that people view as cheating. We will sometimes literally go to the internet and copy code and then paste code. Like,
I'm being devil's advocate at this point.
No, I totally understand what you're saying, because I think that is the mentality we take in education, right? Like, there is this, no, you must only account for your own work and nothing more, because if you are, how will I sort out what you did and what Bobby did if you're working together on something, or you ask someone for help? Like, it's just not realistic. That's not how the world actually works.
I was assuming that would be the answer that you would give. Like it was last week before last, there was a rather large internet post, Twitter post, in which teacher was complaining about her students cheating, and you read the post. I was like, then give them a test they can't cheat on.
Yeah. I can Google your answers. It's not a very good assessment.
And I always use like the simplest one, the one that I think is common to most adults, is your driving assessment, right? Your road test. Like, you can't cheat on the road test. You have to sit in the seat. You have to demonstrate that you can follow the traffic rules and parallel parking and something. And if you don't, you fail. You don't get your license. So there's you can't send a body double. They check your ID. You have to be able to do this.
Certain political figures could.
It depends. I don't, if you're a 16-year-old sitting on dubs, perhaps you could do those things. But generally, people understand assessment. If we think of assessment like the driver's test, there is something I have to demonstrate to you in a real sense, given in a tangible way, not in a qualitative way, not in a tangible way. I understand what you're talking about. But if I can go in again, as you said previously, if I can Google the answer to who was president in 1812, why is that information I need to memorize? Which I think we're moving slowly in a glacial pace toward that reality that, this is not 1963 where there was no internet and you had to memorize things. Like right now, I don't have to memorize historical events. Now, there's certain historical events that hopefully we sit in your mind because you've been exposed to them constantly. Sure. But I don't really care who the president in 1896 was. Off the top, I dare say that most adults could not tell you what that information is.
I was reading a tweet from this YouTuber that I follow, and storms had knocked out power and therefore internet in his area. So he took his kids for a drive to go get curly fries, and they got to Arby's, and Arby's could not sell them curly fries because their internet was down. And the only way that they could do transactions is their internet. So the common thing that I would hear when I was a DLC was like, well, but what if the internet goes down? We're not going to always have the internet. If the internet goes down at this point, society stops working.
Facts.
So.
Facts. I don't go to the bank. I know my bank balance because it's on the internet on my phone. I don't go and stand in line and So definitely yes and to that. But one of the things that we want to encourage teachers to encourage this to, and teachers are the first learners, right? They're the president's supposed to be the first citizen. The teacher's the first learner in the classroom. The teacher is not expanding his or their horizons. Then that there's going to be a quagmire inside that classroom. So this find your squid, and I use this a lot of times when I'm doing a lot of professional learning with our school. When I taught in Taiwan, we were sitting in the ministry. The Ministry of Education sits us in this for lunch. And we got to experiment with food. There was like this breakfast pudding stuff that I really don't like. But I tried it. And one day there's just squid sitting on the like raw squid, eyeballs and all, sitting on the table. And my buddy, who is now, he's in Yuma, he goes and he says, hey, look, I'll give you $5 Taiwanese dollars if you eat one of those. And I'm like, nah, 5. He's like, yeah, $5. I'm like, okay. So I take it and I throw it in my mouth. I throw the entire thing in my mouth, like, I'm not going to chew it, I'm just going to swallow and, you know. And I'm like, this is delicious. It tastes like crab. So I stopped murdering them. And so one of the cool things about the baby squid, and I don't want to feel like I'm monstrous and I'm taking, killing people's offspring or whatever, is that
if you're vegan, feel free to
yeah. I mean, the ink is still there, so you get the nice ink. It's just delicious. It's delicious. So it is a delicious meal. Cuttlefish, the same deal. Love cuttlefish the same way. But had I not been dared, had I not been pushed, had I not been implored to try that, I would have never known that I actually have my palate likes that. Same thing for things that you don't like. If you don't try them and taste them, you don't know that you don't like them, right? So, I mean, I don't like onions. Why? Because I have tried onions over and over again, but I do not like the taste of onions. If you dice them very, very small, you hide them from me, you can get away with it. But in terms of me seeing an onion, my brain, that acidic taste, I hate that. It's just sharp. It's nasty. Go ahead, Webb.
Kombucha.
Oh, kombucha.
So, I have a rule where I will try something at least twice before I decide, like, no, I'm definitely done with that thing. Kombucha and salmon actually fall into the same category. So I had tried kombucha numerous times. Like, I see it and people enjoy it. They look so happy when they're drinking it. It's supposed to be good for you because it's like fermented and stuff. And every time I'd try it, I'd be like, this is trash. I don't understand why you drink this trash water. This fizzy trash water. Because that's really what it tasted like. But then I was on a project and another developer was like, you gotta try this particular flavor of this particular brand. Just try it. If you don't like it, then you definitely don't like kombucha. I don't even remember what it was, to be honest with you. Tried it. I was like, oh, okay. Here's an Instagram post of it somewhere. I might actually like this stuff. Like, this isn't bad. And then my last job before my current situation, we were out of a WeWork space, and there was kombucha on tap at that thing.
Interesting.
Also, quite delicious. I probably had tried kombucha a dozen times, and like every time it was like, nope, don't like this, nope, don't like this. But then those last 2 times it was like, no, I kind of like this. This is decent. Like if I get the right kind of kombucha, it's not that bad. And salmon was the same way. Like I tried salmon so many times, and then I ran into my roommate was like, oh, you should try the salmon at this. It's a place down on like Windmill and just east of Las Vegas Boulevard called Opulicious Poke. And their wasabi salmon is delicious. And then we started making it at home, and now I'll eat salmon all kinds of different ways. And all kinds of different seafood in general, like all kinds of different ways. But I kept going back and trying it again and again and again. Like, I didn't give up on this idea that like maybe today will be different.
Indeed. I mean, I don't. Salmon. I used to love salmon. I don't like. I only like salmon raw now. Like I will not eat salmon cooked. And generally, it's just I just have not acquired the taste again. But again, trying things in order to say I have an informed opinion about this. I do not like that because I've had it multiple times, or I do like it because I've had it multiple times in multiple places. It's kind of an important thing, right? And so giving yourself and therefore your students opportunities to try things and say that doesn't work for me. So what I hate really a lot is this the notion in classrooms that you're going to do it this one way. Everyone's going to prepare this one meal, right? If you don't prepare this one meal the same way that I prepared the one meal, you get an F. That's kind of messed up, yo.
I think too, it's worth like in a world of hot takes, like it's okay to say I'm not sure yet. And so if you're trying a new tool or you're trying a new strategy and you're like, I don't know. It's like that meme where they're like, so it's okay to like not be sure and to need to go back and revisit that thing and try it again.
But building time to do that as well is important, right? So I mean, not being the tyranny of the school year, right? 180 days. I gotta get through all these standards, and how often you get even like blazing through your pacing guide. How often do you get to your all your standards by the end of the school year?
Not often.
So in the grand, even if you just like pump the brakes 3 or 4 times and say, you know what, we're not gonna get through all the standards anyway. Let's go and spend some time to make sure that people actually understand the materials that we're covering in a real sense, so that you're prepared for the next grade level, you're prepared for a career, you're prepared for whatever. But like just the Formula One racing, trying to get through everything, dude. It might look pretty, you might feel accomplished at the end, but at in the grand scheme of things, your homies didn't learn very, very much. And I think that's where what we're going to talk about tonight is going to be helpful if you allow your friends to go at a pace. So I think one of the things that hopefully everyone is realizing now is that it is possible to script your entire course online, your entire course, and therefore have students, if you want them, your Formula One racing crew, those kids can blaze all the way through. Your friends who are going to be long, like the long road, the ice road trucker friends who are going to take some time, they can get there too. But if the road is already prepared for me, I can take my time. But if you're making it up as you go, which tends to be what we do as teachers, right? I'm gonna set up Sunday night and I'm gonna make up the lessons for the next week. Have no idea that's when it starts getting weird, right? That's when you can't do the opportunity for kids to have true choice, because I need you to be at this point with everybody else because we're going to have our assessment on Friday. So, find your squid. The next thing is kind of the exposure deal, right? The more I'm exposed to, kind of in that same vein, the more I can understand how the world works, what I don't like, what I do like, kind of people I might want to hang out with, the niches that I might want to start to deal with. So, this one is kind of near and dear to me because a lot of your students, especially your students who are of low socioeconomic status, those kids don't see a bunch, right? And even though they might be on the internet, they don't have opportunities to go and taste wasabi salmon, right? They might not know what wasabi is. So how do we go and bring the world into your classroom so the kids are saying, okay, this is what this looks like in France. This is what this looks like in I don't know, Mongolia or wherever, that these places exist and that people live there and they have different ways of expressing themselves than we do. So that kind of exposure deal also gives us a choice. Music is my thing, right? World music, you start listening to one artist and then you go look at who that artist sampled and it's like, I don't know, some obscure, Kenyan drummer, and then you go find that on Apple Music and you're like, this dude is actually dope, and then that person leads you to another person. The more you have this interconnected web of systems, the more you can understand how the system systems work in totality. So bringing systems into your classrooms to expose students, whether it's virtual field trips, and if you're using Nearpod, you have virtual field trips built in there, right? Google Arts and Culture has all that just delicious stuff that's inside there that you can just expose your students to. That's really, really, really easy to access. Well, it looked like you had a brainstorm.
Oh, I was just thinking about earlier this week. We're starting to look at a problem that involved other regions of the world, and so some of the questions that came up were a result of what our background knowledge was about current events happening in those regions. And it's not something that you generally think about impacting your day-to-day work, but this is one of those moments where it's like, oh, this is why it's important to keep up on current events, because if I'm going to ask questions about, moving a product into a certain region of the world, like I need to understand what's happening in those regions and how that might impact the product that I'm building. So I feel like that's really should be one of the main purposes of like elementary, middle, high school, K-12, is like setting that foundation of, hey, here are some things you may need to pull from, or here's the areas that you can be exposed to. So why when people are like, oh, algebra is pointless, like, I mean, it's about exposure to a certain extent though. Do you need to go all the way up to pre-cal? Probably not. But like that exposure, I think, is important because you may spark some kid who's like, oh my God, I love this. This is amazing. This is what I want to do for my degree. Like, you know, whatever. So I think some of that is that exposure. Like it means not only exposure to like tools and strategies and everything, but everything that kids get exposed to then becomes something in their tool belt to be able to like pull from later on.
Indeed. So one of the things that kind of think about ish, and actually I'm not going to do that yet. Think about ish is, yo, there is, your kids are gamers. And I want to say 98% of your students are people who play games. And that does not mean competitive game. That does not mean necessarily some kind of, it could be Candy Crush. It could be, and I'm going to say, well, I'm going to stick out on a limb here and say that most human beings on the planet are people who play games in some way, shape, or form on a regular basis.
In my my undergrad teaching, one of the main focuses of one of my classes was about the impact of play and how all humans play.
All organisms play, right? Like, Homo ludens is the first chapter with Heisinger. Of that first chapter, he talks about nature and how you learn, animals who are predators learn how to hunt by playing games with their siblings. Animals who are prey learn how to hide by playing with their siblings. Like, it is play used in order for survival. And so if we take that idea away from, just nature, this is a natural thing. What games do kids play without video games, right? I play cops and robbers. I play hide and go seek. I play games in which I am trying to survive. I'm going to elude you in order to do it. The floor is lava. These are survival games, and I'm making them fun because if a lava incident ever happened, I might be forced to jump on chairs and do all kind of crazy stuff, right? So, if we utilize games as games, right, as the opportunity to and we use gamer logic. If you start speaking gamer logic to your students are going to react very positively. For example, if you have not heard of Among Us at this point, like, go and deal with the Among Us. The game's been out for like 2 or 3 years. It got really popular over the first time we had the shutdown. And whole point of the game, there are 2 people who are actively trying to sabotage a mission, and you have to figure out who those 2 people are. All right. And those 2 people who survive it to the end, they win. And if you catch them and, dispose of them, then you win. Really interesting game. You'll hear your kids start about, Mr. Lang, are you an imposter? Are you sus? And you'll look these little, and you're like, okay, cool. These kids are now using this in their regular vernacular. These are terms that you're using regularly now. What?
Oh yeah, and if you're a frequenter of the internet, like, you've seen something as sus used at any point. Like, I've never played Among Us, but it is actually on my team. So my team has a board where we have like team bonding activities, and one of them is play Among Us together. And so if you're looking to connect with your students, instead of using some very sad, pathetic, tell me about yourself survey, like, play a game with them.
Oh yeah, I mean, get gamer tags. I get, like, they beat me on Fortnite, so I stopped playing Fortnite with them because it was sad. I'm not good at Fortnite, and then the games I play are a little too mature for them. But I'm playing World War Z now. It's zombies and stuff. So I mean, but it's a fun game. If you are a gamer and you have not played World War Z, really dope. And it's going to lead into some of the stuff that we're going to talk about tonight. But in terms of how this hustles really quickly, the AJ Giuliani, who, he's got some pretty decent stuff. The idea of choice boards first, right? Like, this is not anything new to anybody. Like, the people did choice boards when we weren't online, right? So, the choice boards deal, if you go to ajagiuliani.com or just search choice boards, he just goes through, like, basically some reasons why you want to do it. Now, I'm going to, like, push back on some of this. Like, let me go ahead here and go down. So, like, here's my ELA example. Okay, cool, skill builders and stuff like that. Now, I think this is great for building up like skills and familiarity with things. But there also should be a scenario in which you have to actually produce something, right? So great. I want you to pick 3 of those, and then you have to build a podcast in order to tell me what your experience was. Here's 3 of these and do something, but not a scenario in which I'm just doing these 3 strategies and there's no production. There's nothing that's creative in multimedia. I think that is the crux of the 21st century is going to be. It is a scenario in which not only are we going to go and learn how to build skills, but you're going to provide an opportunity for those kids to have a platform in which in order to present those skills to the world. So there's plenty of choice boards there. There's the using Google Docs, which I'm not a fan of, but you see how these things are all there. Great menu boards with Google Slides there. This Fortnite one is kind of like that deal. Okay, great. All right, wonderful. So those things are all built there. AJ Giuliani, Ultimate Guide to Choice Boards and Learning Menus. He's got plenty of stuff on his site. John Spencer, who he kicks it with a lot, also has a lot of really interesting stuff there as well. But the choice boards, I think, are good in order to kind of ground yourself into giving kids different opportunities, different viewpoints on how to do certain things. Because when it comes to that, Webs, it's grinding, right? I think the grinding aspect, if you're somebody who plays video games, and I'm going to kind of wax philosophic here for just a second. If you play video games, grinding is uber important. So right now I'm playing World War Z. I got it on the easiest level for a reason. I have it on the easiest level because I want to grind. I want to get my experience points up to such an extent that when I move on to other levels, I'll be able to buy things, weapons and XYZ immediately without having to go through this like struggle process. I'm beating the easiest level because I went through all the levels already. I know exactly what's going to happen. I know what patterns are going to happen, all that wonderful stuff. It's nothing that's going to surprise me. I can beat it quickly, and because this is a game in which there are 4 human players on a team, I can lead other people to safety a lot easier than I would be able to do at a higher level. So I have a lot of newbies that join the team, and I can talk to them and say, no, don't go that way. Follow me this way. Get this weapon. There's ways you can tell people to get weapons or go this way. And there's different classes of individuals. This is collaborative, cooperative experience that allows you to gain experience yourself, help other people gain experience, and then when you're ready to move up to the next level, be prepared for that level because I've dominated on this one level to such an extent that now I'm bored with it. Let me move to the next challenge. But I'm choosing that challenge. I can move back and forth as much as I would like. Webs?
How would you define what grinding is? Like you mentioned some of the characteristics of it, but what would be like a definition of how you would explain grinding to someone? Because that term also exists in poker.
So so grinding essentially is like I'm going to play the same board over and over again, or do the same task over and over again, over and over and over and over and over and over again, for multiple reasons. All right, it might just be fun. Like I might be just like I have maxed out my experience at this level. I don't really care. It's just fun. I'm playing with my mates, and we're just going around and kicking people's butts to feel like superior. Yes, we did it. This board is nothing to us anymore. That's one thing. The second thing is that, like, the interesting thing about how games are built, they encourage you to grind. A lot of video games encourage you to grind because if you don't grind, you won't get enough experience points in order to purchase better weapons or better armor or better whatever. So it behooves you, and you'll see kids, I'm not a kid, but you'll see gamers use the strategy to say, if I go down here and I can just do this repetitive task over and over again where I know I can be successful, that's going to garner me all this experience, all this money, all this in-game loot, whatever it is, that I'll be able to go forward with in the future. For example, again today, I was one of the class of character I'm in World War Z was a Hellraiser. I maxed out Hellraiser. I went all the way to level 30. Now it was fun yesterday taking my upgraded weapons and just mowing down zombies and then not being a challenge at all. Right? It was really, really fun doing that. But today I got bored. So I'm like, let me change my class. So I changed to a totally different class that was at level 0. And I started to grind again and say, okay, cool. Let me get this person really, really great. This person has a drone that shoots zombies as you go through. So I'm like, all right, cool. Now, my weapons were really low. I only had one drone. The drone had limited abilities, but it was a challenge. It was fun. Even having the same boards and knowing what all the geography on the boards was, I still died a lot. It was cool. It was like, oh, dog, okay, this person doesn't have that same ability this other person does. So you get this opportunity to learn as well. The other cool thing about grinding is you become an absolute master of things after a while, right? There's nothing that can surprise you on the board anymore because you've seen it 10,000 times. I played Titanfall 2. This game's been up 5 years. I know everything. When we start playing, people know all the cheats and everything and whatnot. So grinding is a great strategy, and I'm gonna throw this site up very quickly. Grinding is a very cool strategy to utilize when you are talking about that sentence. So I'm going to read it. We're talking about grinding, a completist pursuit by gamers who will play the same levels, quests, and missions to slowly level up before taking on the actual next challenge that lies ahead. And what begins as a gaming term has become an everyday saying, with students grinding through homework for good grades and coworkers complaining of the grind through endless paperwork in hopes of achieving a promotion. So, in terms of the grind is experience. That's how I've always looked at it. I think if we set it so it's positively set that way, Webbs, I think it makes a lot more sense in terms of I'm going to spend a lot of time on this activity because I'm getting experience in order to beat the boss at the end. Because right now, I could go to the boss right now, but I don't have the tools in order to beat the boss.
I think there's another aspect of this too, and it makes me think of like kids rereading the same book over and over and over again. I think as adults, we tend to think like, oh, we need to move on quickly. Like you understand the skill, you've read through this book, move on to the next thing. But there is some value in having students go back and basically do something similar and reinforce those skills and build that automaticity. That isn't to say that this should be done via 50 math homework problems when they can demonstrate their ability to do it in 5 or something. I think it's a strategy that, like all strategies, needs to be used thoughtfully and strategically. But there is something to be said for, hey, you have this book that you enjoy reading. You can read it as many times as you want. Like, you don't have to pick a new book. You can reread the same book in the same chapter over and over again. And I think the key difference here is that it's in the student's power to make that choice to grind versus I, as teacher, am going to assign you 50 problems to do to build your abilities there.
Facts. Like, I can move on. I can change my class anytime I want to. I can go decide I'm going to go to another level anytime I want to. I want to make my game harder. I can choose to make my game harder. And if that gets too hard for me, I can always go back down and say, cool, I'm going to get some more success here, get some more better weapons, and go back up. And I think that's the choice. When we talk about rereading the books over all the time, we can add the video game aspect to that. When you say, okay, cool, what you're going to do is you're going to change one of the characters this time in your book. As you're reading, you're not going to read Susie the bunny rabbit as a bunny rabbit. She's going to be a cyborg. Like, how does that change your story now that you were dealing with everything else? That your favorite story, how does that compare and that contrast that to the story that we're reading as a class right now? How are they the same? Are they different? You know that story inside and out, Bob. You read that story 65 times. You should be able to tell us if the author of that story that you wrote, that you love so much, wrote this story, how would they change it? What would it look differently? If it's would they add more fairies to it or monsters, or would it be a love story instead of a dystopian future story, whatever? I think there's a lot of ways to gamify that process as well, but still forcing that student to use those high levels of Bloom's, those high levels of 21st century strategies, and still doing it within the comfort of, this is a story that I know this so well that I can apply that to that scenario very, very easily.
I think too, you've just talked about, like, how do you take those filters that video games give you of switching classes or swapping out weapons or whatever, and then doing a new run at that same level. Those are all perfect examples, I think, of how to do that in the classroom. So if you have a story that you've read over and over and over again that you're really familiar with, here's different ways that you can swap that you can put on those different lenses and still be using the same material, but revisit it from a different perspective and engage with it in a different way so that it it encourages a bit of grinding combined with like some variety.
And fan fiction too. I mean, really, when kids like stories, have them go. Let's remix the story, fam. This is your favorite book. Let's add some flavors to it. Let's do. I think it's like cooking, right? When you get really good at a recipe, you start adding different things. I wonder what it would taste like with this or that. Let's take this away. Let's add this different thing. Let's add this Vietnamese flavor to it and see what goes on. So I think the idea of grinding is such an important one, because grinding is, I am working hard toward mastery. I can't grind unless the whole point is for me to master something. I have a goal. I want to get XYZ dollars because I need this money in order to buy this weapon that's going to allow me to beat the boss at the end. Or I need to grind here because, again, I have this idea that I want to find every hidden door on this level. It's going to take me hours to do these things. Because the other thing with grinding that's really interesting, it's happened to me today, is you might think you know where everything is on a board, but that 1,000th time through, and you're playing with somebody who's been through that board 3 more times than you have, says, hey, stop. There's a secret cut through here. And that happened to me today. This dude, he was level 999, the highest player I've played with so far. He's like, look, don't go that way because there's a creeper. It's this little thing that jumps out and gets you. He's like, the creeper over there. If you go this way and you breach this door, you can get this auto turret that was there that I'd never seen before. And I'm like, all right, cool. Now, what am I going to do? The next time I have new people with me, I'm going to walk them that direct same way. So everyone benefits from the grind as well. So it's not a situation I'm grinding for myself. I'm grinding for myself and everyone else that I'm playing with. And so in terms of collaboration and cooperation, someone chose me, I chose somebody else, the other person chose somebody else, and everyone benefits and everyone becomes a better player because we have all, in a selfish way, try to get ahead. But my selfishness has also benefited these other. I mean, it's kind of, I guess, trickle down economics in a kind of grim way. But especially because I've only spoken orally to one other player the entire time I've been playing this game. Everybody else has either you can use like people will jump up and down, people will shoot at you like, hey, this is the way. Like that's the other really interesting thing about video games, is all this non-verbal communication, and you're like, oh, cool, I get that, right?
But again, because how many people do you play with where you don't even speak the same language? What good is it?
The EMX cast that I play with on Titanfall, I'm the only English speaker, and they're having conversations at very rapid paces in Spanish, and I just listen, and I'm like, but the other thing that's really cool is if you play with the same people over and over time, it's you can already anticipate what this person's going to do in this situation. And that's the other cool thing about grinding as well. If you grind with the same people, I don't need to talk to you. I know exactly when we go through this board, you're going to cut this way, I'm going to go that way, this other person goes to the middle, and we're going to get people there. So that's another thing that I guess Webs is really cool about. If you do, people change groups a lot. I don't like to change groups a lot in my class. You choose your group. If you're comfortable with those people, why would I change that dynamic, right? It gives you an opportunity to learn people's patterns. I like how this person does this. Now, if it doesn't work, that also gives me the opportunity to say, hey, that don't work. Let me find another group. But learning people and learning how you work with people, I think that there's some positive aspects to keeping groups the same. And it doesn't have to be the same for the school year, but give them a nice chunk of time in order to learn people's behaviors and things they like and they don't like.
I think a lot of what you talked about too is the learner getting to know themselves. So, I think a good way to present to a learner, like letting them figure out if they should keep grinding or move on to the next challenge, is just to ask them, hey, what do you think? Do you think you should keep grinding or move on to the next challenge? If they're not ready, but they say move on to the next challenge, let them go. And then they'll fail. And then they'll be like, oh, I don't think I was ready. I think I need to go back to grinding. Because a lot of this is about figuring out who you are as a learner, who you are as a person. I think that is hugely valuable. If you're going to go searching for a job or apply to a college, you have to know, how do I learn best? What kinds of people do I like to work with? What kinds of people, what kinds of styles of work are important to me? How often do I need to take breaks? Like, all of those things you have to know about yourself when you go into college or a career.
Absolute facts. So, I mean, the other thing that's really cool about the gamer culture, especially you talk about hardcore gamers, and if there are hardcore gamers out there, and I don't consider myself a hardcore gamer, I just enjoy playing video games. It's people will say, how many hours have you put in? Like literally, I put in XYZ hours in this game, and that's how much. He's like, all right, cool. I like to do with the 999. He's talking. I'm like, dude, how many hours you put in? He said some insane number. I was like, wow, son, like that's like literally months of your life that you put on this game. But it's important for people to grind, and so taking it from the perspective that if you make your assignments and your ideas big enough, it gives kids the idea, even in a sense where perhaps this is not even this type of game that I like. It still gives me an opportunity to pick my own adventure through my own choices through this and make it worthwhile and relevant to me. And so to kind of close us out this evening, we're going to look at Canvas, some things that are built into Canvas that you might be like, hey, you know what? This actually be a way to add some choice to things. We could do like a week's worth of professional learning on what I'm about to show you. So like, don't like, oh my God, it's went so fast. You can always catch this on replay, and we're going to try to do some stuff that's more canvas centered going forward. But there are a couple like really, I'm not going to say easy, but really some things that you could grind yourself on, right? So that's another thing in terms of getting skills. You can't do it once, you can't do it twice. You got to grind and really, really implement those skills. So if you want to get better at Canvas, you want to get better at using the technology, you want to get better or whatever, you got to use it, and you got to fail using it. Talk to the kids afterward. If you notice that 4 kids did your assignment, it probably wasn't the kids. It's probably I made some kind of error in how I did XYZ. Woman up on that one, man up on them up on it, and be like, look, fam, I made a mistake. Let me change that. Now it looks like I want it to look. Lord knows how many times I had to do that in the last 6 weeks. Like some kids like Mr. I don't understand. Some other kid, I don't understand. It's 35 kids, I don't understand. The common denominator is you're the one to put that assignment together. It's not that your kids are like, oh my goodness, that don't. And then you go back, you're like, yeah, that was really difficult to understand. Let me redo that lesson. So now it's really, really linear and easy for people to deal with. Webs.
Something that for some reason, and maybe I am slow on the uptake on this one, but something that's taken me a long time that I have to be very deliberate about is when I try something new and get frustrated and immediately want to quit, or if I change something, like I've done something a certain way and now I'm changing that habit or whatever, I'm introducing a new habit. I generally fail at it, like right out of the gate. Like I'll forget to do the thing, or I'll really struggle. It'll take me twice as long or 3 times as long as the way that I used to do it. And I have to constantly remind myself, like, yeah, this is what a new thing is like. And pretty soon it won't be a new thing, and you'll be able to do it quickly, and you'll be able to be efficient unless you stop practicing and stop trying. And then it's always going to be hard.
Yep.
So do the hard thing often, and then it'll be less of the hard thing.
Absolute facts. And so let's take a look at Canvas really, really quickly, just because a lot of us are using Canvas. And so,
or will need to use Canvas.
Or will need to use it as well. This is absolute truth.
Jump on it.
So this is just something I'm building. So one of the things that we're going to try to build is just modules of tech goodness that you can just take and rock and roll with it. This one hopefully will be ready by Wednesday. But one of the things that's easy to build in terms of choice and kind of if you start to think levels, right? If you start to think of your course as levels, like I don't want you to go certain places until you have certain skills, right? I'm going to force you to grind. I want to make sure that you're grinding, because when you're ready for the boss, I want you to be able to beat the boss. Me as teacher, you as Yoda, I want you, when you deal with Darth Vader and the Emperor, I don't want you to die. I want you to survive it, right? So this is just like idea one. So think in modules first. So a lot of teachers are thinking day to day. I think in modules. These are big pieces of material that we're going to deal with. And I'm thinking that I want to kind of build opportunities for you to learn skills and then turn something in. So think of this kind of as your boss battle here. Now, not only do I want to do that, I want to make sure. I'm going to actually build another module real quickly.
People are not video game people. The boss is the big battle at the end of the level.
I'm just going to call this new module. And you're going to see when I add the module, what I want to do is I can lock it until a certain date. So if you're like, yo, it should take you, I don't know, a week to get this work done, I guess I can lock it until whatever date I decide. Great way to make sure that people have to stay in a certain place. I want to force people to grind on a certain level. I can do it. I can make that one module 10 things deep of you doing the same activity over and over and over again and saying, the only thing you're going to do here is grind, my dude. Webs.
With great power comes great responsibility, because I feel like that can also be misused to force kids into a certain time frame of things that may not may be artificially created. I can see how that could be misused.
Oh, it could be. I think every tool could be misused in the wrong hands. But in the grand scheme of things, if you wanted a situation where, I want this new module to be locked until a certain date, say, because you're always going to have friends who are going to say, Mr. Lane, I'm going to rush through this work very, very quickly. Now, I'm just going to do it in a very visceral manner, boom, 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 and then, great, I'm going to the next module. Then I look at your work from the deadline from the first one. So I go look at your work from here and I'm like, this is absolutely craptastic. You didn't do anything. I'm going to say that a reasonable person can get through these 5 activities in a week. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to publish this, and then I'm going to say that next module, you're not even going to be able to move to the next module until the 15th. Now, that gives you a week to get this current module done. Gives me a week to sit there and kind of look over people's work and says, okay, yeah, Bob just finished, and that's not good, Bob. You didn't do a good job at all. Now, if I don't want to lock it, great. I can say, you know what? Let me add a prerequisite to it. I'm going to say you need to have turned in your assignment for that very first one in order to get to this next one. So I can add that module, and that's going to stay locked if I published it. That would stay locked until you turn that work in. Now, I've used this the entire school year because I've got new students that pop in. Now, if a new student pops in and wants to start at the module where I am now without all the prerequisite skills, and if I'm going back to video games, right? I've got somebody who's a level 0, and right now I'm working with people who are level 75s. The creatures on level 75 are way too much for a level 0 because you have no previous experience and previous skills doing this deal. What I want you to do is grind through those other levels in a controlled pace. So when you get to level 75, cool. Mr. Lane, this is totally cool. Not a problem. We're ready to go. All right. So that's one really, really easy strategy in order to kind of allow kids to open world situation things. The other thing is this kind of things that you're adding to your Canvas modules. So hit that plus sign here. So assignments. I'm not going to start with assignments yet. I'm going to go down to the bottom where it says external tool. So external tool, you'll notice that actively learn. So I can build actively learn assignments into Canvas. You have, if you're a CCSD employee, you have actively learn already. Your kids all have actively learn accounts. Probably best 3 through 12. Maybe 2 through 12. My little friends, there's some strategies you can use to get my little friends engaged with it, but I probably wouldn't do that. Apex, there are people using Apex for 6 through 12. Badger is going to be adding badges and stuff, and we had to do a show on badging. Adding Badger to your modules are really, really easy as well. There's chat tools, there's CK12, which we all have. Discovery Ed is all there that you all have. So you can go and build those in. Nearpod is there. You can build those tools in and say, okay, cool, I'm going to send you to another place inside the modules. Say I hit Nearpod, great. I put the little link to my tool here. Yes, okay, you're going to permanently link it or whatever, and you'll handle your business. So the kids, okay there, your kids would go inside the module in Canvas to Nearpod. It would already be built in there, and you have a lot of teachers are going to be a lot more comfortable using Nearpod as a instructional tool than they are in Canvas. Now you can exploit the virtual field trips and the 360 video and all that wonderful stuff inside Nearpod and kind of hack the Canvas interface in order to do a lot of the cool stuff that's there. The quizzes and all that wonderful stuff. Great. The other thing for choices. Cancel item, plus sign. Get rid of that. Oh. External URL. So the external URL is just going to be, yo, I want to send the kids to Google Arts and Culture. I can put that Google Arts and Culture in there, call the page, welcome to Google's Arts and Culture, and that's going to send the kids to another page. I would load it in a new tab if I were you. Because you cannot embed the Google stuff using the iframe generator or anything like that, that becomes a easier solution than trying to embed things that won't allow you to embed them in there. So external URL, another way to add choice to your canvas still. Text header is not going to do anything. Discussion, really cool. Pages, you're probably familiar with, but assignments. Now, inside the assignments, I'm just going to call this demo. This is something that's built in here. How can I actually add a level of choice inside of the assignments? So go here, first and foremost, we got that rubric scoring there. We got to go, again, that's a whole day's worth of instruction about rubrics. But we're going to come here, and inside of this interface up here. So what you see is what you get. Is that what you call webs?
Yes, WYSIWYG.
Yeah, so you see all this wonderful stuff here, and you can add embeds and links and all that kind of stuff. You can actually teach your class right on the assignments page, but you'll notice in blue at the very top there, it says Mastery Paths. So Mastery Paths is a way to allow you to hack Canvas to move kids in different directions. And you could do it where, hey, depending on your score in the assessment, you go to one place, you go forward. Those who get, between the 100, from 100 points to 70 points, you guys are going to go to the next module, because I'm confident you know what you're talking about. Between 70 and 40, you all are going to go back to this hidden module in which you're going to grind some more and learn some more about the skills. If you're from 0 to 40, you go and meet with Yoda. There's a small group that you bring out, and you kind of do some stuff. You can go in and you can change those things. All right. It's really, 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 really a cool interface to think about when you start thinking about, again, video game logic. What if I don't have it actual scores there? What if I say, okay, cool. If you're in group A, I'm going to give you, you're going to go down this path. All right, cool. And I'm going to set this up for you that you're going to choose like all C's on the answer on the quiz, and all C's on that quiz or whatever is going to lead you here. Wait, we'll show you the quiz in a second. This is going to be all A's on the quiz. This is going to be all D's on the quiz. So I'm going to create 3 different paths that are inside there very, very quickly that allow me to send you to 3 different modules according to what your task is at that point. Really kind of a simple way to do it. The other easier way to deal with that as well, Webs, is just building pages and using buttons on pages. And not everyone, a lot of people, and I'm going to get rid of this. A lot of people are more familiar with pages. That's why I'm going to use that one last. So inside your pages, I'm just going to call this new page. We can also build in via links the same kind of hustle. So if you don't know the first little trick, it's using tables in order to set everything up. So I'm going to say, cool, those are my tables, great. And I'm going to say sorcerer. How you spell sorcerer? Score, server. Yeah, that's it. I don't know, warrior. Mage, even those are the same thing. Cool. I'm just going to throw those in there really quickly, and I'm going to center those and say again, I want 3 classes of student. I'm going to send these 3 people into 3 different levels, like I'm playing a game. You get to choose which deal you want to be. Great. The thing what I'm going to do underneath here really quickly is I'm just going to add some. I'm just going to use course images for right now. I'm going to add some images here, so I'm going to click that, and that's going to go in that box. I'm going to go here to course images again, and I'm going to use that one, and I'm going to use course images again, and I'm going to use that one. All right, cool. So great, fine, dandy. Why did you go in there, my friend? Course images, use the deadlines one. There we go. All right, so I've got these. I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to go to, so one of my teachers that I work with calls these the eyeglasses, even though it's supposed to be chain links. So click on the eyeglasses, the chain links, whatever. And there's two options here. External links are going to be to external websites outside of Canvas. Course links are going to be inside the course. All right, so I'm going to leave that for right there for right now. I'm just going to save this because this is the kind of the hack. So I'm going to go back to my modules. And inside here, I'm going to hit the plus sign. I'm going to call my first module Sorcerer. I'm going to call my next module Warrior. I'm going to call my next module Mage. So I'm going to think video games, right? Now, all the kids don't need to do this. Just the Sorcerer is going to do their work, the Warrior is going to do their work, and the Mage is going to do their work. Great. So I'm going to go back to this new page module. I'm going to go to the Sorcerer. Hit the edit button here. I'm going to click there. Course links. I'm going to look inside of modules over here. Oops. And I'm going to click Sorcerer. And that's going to link to my Sorcerer's page. Same thing here. Bada bing. Course links. Module. That's going to be Warrior. Same thing for my deadlines deal. That course links. Mage. Excellent. Now, when a kid clicks those things, it's going to send them to that particular information. So if you want to diversify, you want to change the situation, you want to have a scenario in which different kids learn different things and they come together at the end and put their minds together to build their podcast or whatever, you can really gamify it in that kind of way without having to do any extra work outside of building the modules and linking them to a picture or to a word or whatever it is. All right, you save that. Oops. You save that. And if you click on it, that takes me directly, it would take me directly to the Mage deal there. All right. You can add prerequisites. You can move things down. You can do all kind of crazy stuff like inside there. Really, really cool stuff. And again, it's just creating that idea of choice. I'm going to create different levels in my classroom of different kids, or you could do it by, what you perceive their ability level is in a certain strategy or whatever. Hey, my sorcerers are going to be the kids who really understand how to do something, and they're going to be creating lessons in here that are going to help the mages out, because the mages are the junior sorcerers, and they're going to go and take a junior sorcerer underneath their wing, but you have to learn how to do everything, and you're perhaps going to put a lesson plan together or something like that, and the mages are going to be learning as much as they can on their own, but then they have to demonstrate to the sorcerer that you know how to do certain things, and the warriors are people who are just like, they're going to, protect the sorcerers and the mages by making sure they know all the in-between types of things. Totally up to you in terms of your creativity, but those are like really easy ways to get some easy wins inside of Canvas without having to like become a Canvas savant. And I think that's looking at the very small granular pieces of Canvas and saying, I don't need to learn how to do everything in Canvas. What are the high yield strategies in Canvas that I can utilize? I can build over and over again. The prerequisites are really good. We can do, I think next on Thursday webs we might do like badging inside there, and kind of why badging is very, very cool. I think that would be a great show to deal with, because using Badger to start badging with your students is also very cool, because it integrates inside of Canvas very easily. It'll give those badges to your students automatically. And even if you weren't using Canvas and you're using Google Classroom, you can email your kids their badges once they demonstrate a proficiency at something.
And I mean, I'm going to harp on Octalysis like forever, because I really think that there are so many strategies from that framework that can be used to make or improve the engagement level of lessons by thinking about things like making them personalized, or using some of the negative things that are that qualities or whatever they're called that are there. It's a good framework. It can be a bit overwhelming, but maybe that's something that we can touch on Thursday as well.
I was thinking like negative. There's a board and where you're in Israel running from the zombies, and you have to stop and protect this scientist as he fixes a car. Like even fixing things, right? Saying, okay, Mr. Lang did this incorrectly. You need to help Mr. Lang out. Fix this. Make it work. Make this work.
It's not a new strategy. Like that is something that we've used in classrooms forever. Like, I'm going to play like I don't know what's going on and you have to help me.
I did something wrong. Fix this stuff. I misspelled the word. I've left this step out. Which step? You know, my computer screen glitches. How do you fix that if you were me, kid? So, the choice thing again, even from choice boards, which is really like this elementary type thing that we've been doing since you were in teacher school, and they showed you choice boards with the little, bulletin board where the kid decides, what do I do next? You could read a book. You could do this. You could do it. We ain't really reinventing the wheel. We're just updating the infrastructure and the strategy so that it gives kids an even greater opportunity to present themselves to you, to their contemporaries, and to the world. So on Wednesday we're gonna have another the show, the Invincible. This is a show that we're doing for the state of Nevada. So if you want to check it, it'll be streamed to our Facebook page and to our YouTube as well. So if you want to check that out, we'll be kind of revisiting some old topics from some hoodlum shows that we did, but in the more professional Nevada state situation. So we'll throw that together on Wednesday. So Wednesday at 6, you want to check that out, and then Thursday at 6, we'll be back with our usual lunacy, doing crazy and stuff and whatnot. Make sure
making sure you can find your nuts.
Yeah, indeed, all of them, walnuts, hazelnuts, all of them.
Nobody wants hazelnuts.
Oh, hazelnuts are delicious, man.
Actual real hazelnuts aren't bad. Hazelnut flavored things, it's like banana flavored things or cherry flavored
bananas
things.
are delicious.
Trash.
What?
But bananas are delicious. Banana flavored things are garbage.
But give me an example of a banana flavored thing that's garbage.
Like they have those weird whoopie pie things.
That's nasty because that's artificial. No, the runts I like. The runts I like. I love the banana runts. I will push back on that. The banana runts are good. But the whoopie pie, I don't like the regular moon pies. I definitely don't like the banana ones. It's like they put all kind of toxic chemicals in them and did things to them. Indeed. But yeah.
Hazelnut flavoring is trash.
Well, I mean, I may have to get me some Nutella. I haven't had Nutella in such a long time.
Nutella's delicious. Other things that are hazelnut flavored are trash. Mostly coffee, actually, now that I'm thinking about it.
I don't really do hazelnut coffee.
Yeah, that's because it's trash.
I don't do it. Indeed. So we'll find out other things that are trash on Wednesday and Thursday from our culinary expert Webs. Other things. We need to just have a show that what Webs thinks is trash. We need to have a segment that's like, hey, Webs thinks this is trash.
Most kombucha.
Indeed. Indeed.
Just to bring it back around.
Yeah, indeed. Most kombucha is trash. Indeed. Enjoy your the rest of your. Jesus and Mero is gone until 2021. That's what hurts me. I cannot watch my show tonight. That is painful. Very painful. Usually after our show, I'll go and watch Jesus and Mero, but I will not see them until 2021. Hopefully, I don't think COVID will be gone, but hopefully it won't be as deep as it is right now.
It'll be managed.
Yeah, we have not done
in any sort of way,
and we have not done any face-to-face hoodlum stuff since
March, maybe February.
Yeah, I think February, fam.
We're going on a year of seeing each other in person.
Yeah, so I think it's February, fam. Indeed. Yeah. So I mean, it's weird. I mean, it's weird, but
like when I lived in New York.
Yeah, that's true. It's not like we haven't been prepared for this foolishness. So
that's true.
Yeah. Indeed. Be excellent to yourselves. Be excellent to other people. God bless America. God bless my Pathoso people and Lesotho as well.
Bye, everybody.
Hasta la pasta.